Hello, Santaquin City residents. My name is Ben Reeves. I am your city manager, and I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about what's going on in the city right now, to answer any questions you might have, and to explain things and the motivation behind why the projects are moving forward the way they are. It's our hope to be able to have a question and answer series on Facebook, Santaquin Q&A, and we invite all of our residents to send questions in to questions@santaquin.org. And we'll try to provide you video responses, short clips. But for today, I wanted to bring you up to speed on a lot of the projects that we have going on in our community. And so I thought I would do that using our whiteboard here. I'm going to start over here in our whole community and describing some of the projects that we have going on. Right now, Santaquin City is working on the completion of Summit Ridge Parkway out to US 6 Main Street. That project is underway and under construction and should be completed in September. We were hoping it would be done a little bit earlier, but we've had a really wet spring, and that has inhibited some of the construction efforts. However, the bids came in lower than expected, and so we're actually putting in a 60-foot wide road, not just a narrow 2-lane road, but a 60-foot wide road that's going to benefit the entire community. It's going to provide connectivity, and it's going to make it so it's a little bit safer for our residents in Summit Ridge to have 2 access points and be able to get to our downtown a little easier for school, for church, and for the economic development of our community. We're also working on community connectivity with the extension of a frontage road. If you look right here at Maverick, right now you can go down Highland Drive all the way to Canyon Road, which goes out to Santaquin Canyon. That frontage road and that intersection is going to be realigned probably next year. And that frontage road is going to be going in portions of it this year. We've been working on that so we can have an entire route around our community. It's going to be a benefit to everybody. Some other road projects that we have going on right now is 3rd West. 3rd West is over by what is commonly known as the Pizza Hut Church. And it has been a one-way street for a long time. We've been working for quite a long time with the federal government on a Safe Walking Routes to School grant. And those funds are now in place, and the land has been acquired. And we are going to be kicking off that federal project on the widening on the west side of the road. Concurrently, that project should start off in June, but concurrently, the city will also be widening the east side of the road. It is our intent and goal by fall to open up 3rd West as a two-way street once again, with parking on one side of the street. That hasn't been determined what side yet. We're also putting a road in behind Santaquin Elementary School. So if the church is right here and Santaquin Elementary School is right here, there will be a new road behind Santaquin Elementary School that leads to our rodeo grounds. The benefit of that road is that it also provides access all the way around Santaquin Elementary School on all 4 sides. So it's a project that we're doing in partnership with the Nebo School District. So those are some of the road projects that are going on. We're also working on high density. That's another question that has come up of late. Why is there so much high density, and why is it coming to Santaquin so quickly? Well, this is a really challenging issue for the state of Utah. We're growing just as fast as every other community out there, and it's projected that Utah Valley itself is going to grow by 1 million people over the next 40 to 50 years. People need a place to live, and so all of the communities are feeling the pinch because there's great pressure from the state legislature to make housing more affordable, and therefore that means increasing the housing stock. But we recognize that we have problems with our high density within our community. Some of those problems are that it's popping up all over town. We have this ordinance in place right now that creates a distance between high density units. And so we have these small high density units popping up in neighborhoods everywhere. And so long as they're a certain distance from another one, then they can pop up. And our city council has been struggling with this because we know it's an impact on our residents, but we know that the product type is needed. And there's good people. We want our children and our grandchildren to live in our community near us. And we also want to have economic vitality and growth in our community. So how do we deal with that best? And one of the things that the City Council has been working on, has not been put in place yet, is how do we take an approach that allows for less high density spreading all over the place, but having high density in more logical locations that are larger and that have more amenities, pools and clubhouses, that type of thing, very much like you might see in some of the developments popping up in Payson. And so when the City Council has been looking at that, we recognize that one of the things that is important to high density is transportation. Currently, the UTA bus route comes down Main Street, goes to the Stake Center, and goes right back out. However, with our community connectivity, with Summit Ridge Parkway coming through, and with our community connectivity on the east side, it is our hope that we can create a corridor for UTA to come through with their bus routes and be able to provide greater service to our entire community. But with that, it makes sense for us to plan our high density to be on this corridor, but not necessarily in an impactful way. It wouldn't be all over this corridor, but certain larger locations where we can have larger high density units and remove it out of the neighborhoods. But that is a difficult prospect. Our ordinances allow people property rights. They can develop the property the way they choose. And as soon as we start taking away their property right to develop their property, we're infringing upon them. And that's a really challenging and difficult prospect. And so it's a process that we have to go through with the Planning Commission, with town hall meetings, to try to pull the high density away and make it in more logical locations. So those are a couple of the things that are coming. And I wanted to talk about the grocery store now in an aspect of this. So this right here is Main Street and I-15. Maverick is up here. And this is our old Orchard Lane. This, for those who are new in town, this road used to come out all the way across. It's the old highway. And this is the, it was a 5-legged intersection. We have recognized for the longest time that we need to get economic development within our community. We need to create a commercial tax base that's going to benefit all of our residents. In fact, we need our residents to shop local. All the businesses that we have today and tomorrow, we want people to shop local, because every dollar spent in any other community helps them build their roads and their parks and benefits that community. There's nothing better than keeping local dollars local. And so back in 2011 was our first attempt at trying to remove the barriers to bring more economic development to our community. A couple of things happened. First, we developed 3 economic development areas. We called this one the Orchard Lane Development Area. The city has property over by its old sewer lagoons, which now is irrigation water. When this road comes through, that'll be our West Business Park. And this is our 242 commercial area. So in 2011, we started creating economic development areas with the intent to invite businesses in. So one of the questions I think that has come up of late is, why do you call this the Orchard Lane Development Area and not Ridley's? Because Orchard Lane Development Area was set up well before Ridley's even purchased their first parcel of property. So that's an answer to one question. But over that time, in this specific area, Santaquin City worked with Utah County and the state of Utah, Mountain Land Association of Governments and UDOT to widen Main Street. That was when the first light went in, and part of that project was to shut down Orchard Lane. With the shutdown of Orchard Lane, we needed to construct a new road, 100 North, so that these good folks out in Orchard Lane could get out of their neighborhood and come out to this new light. So that was project number 1. That was a huge undertaking. It was more than a $3 million project to widen that out. The next project took place in 2014-15 timeframe, and that was to put in the new 5th East. That seems like a road that might go to nowhere, but it doesn't. In fact, it does connect to our entire road network. And that was a near impossible feat, because with this being a federal road and this being a federal road, we had to get federal approval to push this road through as a right turn only. That took a great amount of effort. At that time, we had a couple of different interested parties, grocery stores wanting to come to town, and we've talked to several. Any grocery store that wanted to come to town, we would be willing to have them come, and we would basically roll out the red carpet, because there's nothing we would want more than to have a place for our residents to buy local. But it just so happens that Ridley's was the first to purchase property, and they have spent quite a long time. People are wondering, why is it taking them so long? How come they haven't built their store yet? And part of that is Ridley's grocery store, Mr. Mark Ridley, has done a fantastic job purchasing a whole bunch of different parcels. He's purchased 13 different parcels from 6 different owners to consolidate and open it up for a future 32-acre commercial development. So we're looking at an entire development that's coming in, not just really a grocery store. However, that's taken a lot of time and a lot of challenge. We've had to reroute gas lines, and we're having to deal with power and different issues. And when Mr. Ridley started looking at his plans, it's important to note that Mr. Ridley presented to our city council for the very first time in a public meeting just this past week on May 7th. And so everything thus far has just been working behind the scenes with Mr. Ridley on his plans. But it is his intent to build his grocery store right here on this parcel of property. And the reason that he wants to do that is because a grocery store really is an anchor to a commercial development, and it's a destination. He doesn't necessarily need the frontage, but this right here will draw in and allow the commercial frontage to develop. So that's a great idea and a great concept. However, the city owns this road right here, and these good folks still need to get out. And so what has been proposed is that Mr. Ridley would be constructing a new 200 North Road so that these folks can still get out, and that he would trade 200 North for 100 North. In addition, he is also going to be widening 400 East so that it's widened like it is for the first block. And lastly, this road that's constructed 500 East will connect, so it stays part of our road network and will connect to 200 North. In the future, there's going to be a high school out here well to the north. Nebo School District has purchased property, and so the road connectivity in this area is extremely important to the city. Not only widening roads, but keeping and maintaining our network. This will allow the trading of these roads for First North and Orchard Lane, which would be turned into a parking lot. In addition, this opens this area up for different small boxes, and this would be considered his phase 1 project. But it also opens up the possibility of the entire 32 acres opening up for commercial development. And we see that as a true positive for our community. With that, the costs of construction are immense. The city has, of course, gone through great effort to widen the road, to put in the intersection, to put in Fifth West, and those are all great things that we've done. However, there is still more than $800,000 worth of roads that need to be constructed to open up this entire commercial area. Mr. Ridley is trying to find the best way to offset his costs. And so there's been 2 proposals that has been made during the May 7th meeting. Now, one of those proposals ties back to an incentive. Why would Santaquin City consider doing an incentive? Well, let me tell you a little bit about the incentive first. Back in 2018, Santaquin wanted to give the extra boost, the incentive, if you will, to invite Mr. Ridley to come and to break ground soon. And so we entered into a one-sided agreement. It was just an offer. And that offer was that we would provide the first $400,000 towards road costs, towards his project, if he were to break ground in a certain period of time. Our incentive was not like other communities' incentives where they'll give tax dollars back and then the tax dollars don't come to the community. but rather our city council felt it was important that we invest in our own road system, because that's going to open up the entire area no matter who the vendor might be. Our incentive really is in our own roads, removing that barrier. And so, of course, Mr. Ridley would have to follow all state law procurement processes, which would be that the roads would have to meet their city standards. We would go through a bidding process with 3 bids, competitive bids for the road. And then as those road bills come in, the city would pick up the first $400,000 worth of costs. Now, when the incentive was put in, it was put in a staged way that, if he broke ground within a certain period of time, I believe he would be able to get the full $400,000. And then every 3 months after that, it dropped off. He would get $300,000, $200,000, $100,000. Unfortunately, we did not really have that as a negotiated incentive. It was really just our overture saying, please, would you please consider coming sooner, because it would be of benefit to our community. And so when this was given to him, he was very polite, very respectful, but indicated right up front, I don't think I'm going to be able to make these dates. It's just not possible. I look at this incentive and I recognize, I know I need to start my plans, my architectural plans, my site plans, power plans with Rocky Mountain Power to put power underground, road plans, the civil, the flooding, the storm drainage in the area. All of that had to be considered, and he didn't have enough time to do it. But all those plans are now complete, and he actually has submitted them today. We're excited to review those, and we're going to turn that over just as fast as we possibly can. However, those costs still exist, and so he has petitioned the Santaquin City Council to change the dates of that incentive and to restart them, because he is now in a position where he would be able to come forward, but he is still riddled with all of the costs of lowering the power and putting the roads in. And the City Council was struggled with this, because we're talking about taxpayers' resources, and we take that very, very, very seriously. And so the City Council, after a long discussion, decided, yes, we will give you the incentive back. We will restart those dates. But one of the things that they have put in there is that Mr. Ridley would now be responsible for this area right here. This is city-owned property that will be our front porch. It's going to be what we call an urban plaza. So whether it has a fountain or a clock tower or a monument of some kind with seating area and just decorative interpretive signs and whatnot, that would be improved at his cost instead of the city cost, since it is city property. So that's one thing that will benefit all of us. But the question is, why would the city give an incentive? Maybe to this business, and is it unfair to other businesses in town? And we say no. I know it was a struggle for Spanish Fork City when they had to decide whether they should give Costco an incentive. But if you look at the blossoming of that area because of the incentive given, you'll see that it's just an absolutely beautiful area, and it's a great economic benefit to the entire community. It lowers property taxes for the residents because there's a commercial base. In fact, if you look at Spanish Fork, you have to recognize that over a third of their sales taxes do not come from their own residents. They come from all the residents south. They come from us. We need to keep our local dollars local. We love our neighbors to the north and we wish them the very best, but giving an incentive that is really an incentive based towards roads will open up this area and will benefit all of us. We're really planting the seeds, tilling the ground, and creating a harvest for our community going forward. And we will reap the benefit, and it will have a return on investment. So I'm confident in that. And it's not only going to be a benefit to the new businesses coming in, but today our residents get on the freeway and they don't have a grocery store to shop at, or other businesses. If they're already going to be shopping up north, they can pick up all their other wares up north as well. And so this will be a benefit to our existing businesses because it'll create more traffic, more people staying at home, more people buying local. So that is our thought process behind it. Phase one is right here, but in addition to the incentive, one of the things that Mr. Ridley has asked about is the possibility of putting in multifamily units right here. Now this is a controversial issue because high density developments, multifamily developments, they're a challenge to our community right now. However, the logic behind the placement of multifamily right here is that one, it's the back side of the grocery store, not the most attractive spot for residential or commercial. Two, this is residential up here, and it creates a buffer to the entire area. But number three, it ties back to this overall philosophy of having something around the UTA route, what we're hoping UTA will support in the future. And so having high density near our freeway exits and near our UTA route with transportation is of benefit. And so for those three reasons, the City Council has said, we will look at your plans and we will consider a zone change in that area to allow for multifamily. Between the multifamily and the city's incentive, that'll help to offset the cost, remove that barrier to entry, allow us to get a grocery store more quickly, allow us to shop locally, and allow this other commercial area to continue to grow and blossom and benefit all of us as residents of Santaquin. So that's some of the things that are going on. Let's talk about a few others. Okay, well, let's talk Business Park first. When this road goes in, Santaquin City owns property right here. It is our intent to develop that property into a business park to be able to create jobs. We want it to be low impact, not have a negative effect on the neighbors of Summit Ridge and our neighbors out to Genola, but have a clean office or business park area, maybe even agricultural based. That is one thing that we're working on. We're also working on what's called, what do we do with 242? Now this is something we're pretty excited about, and we haven't talked a lot about it, but what we're talking about here is we have some fantastic assets in our region. One of those assets is our Red Barn. The Red Barn is Santaquin. People identify Santaquin by the Red Barn and know it from all over Utah. But in addition to the Red Barn, Olson's Greenhouse Gardens was started right here in Santaquin. They're the largest producers of annuals and perennials that are for sale throughout the entire Intermountain West. They have locations in Santaquin, Salem, Lehigh, and areas going north, as well as Colorado. And so we've got a fantastic asset in Olson's Greenhouse. We also, off 242, have our neighbors to the south. I don't know if you've ever noticed any of the Young Living signs along the freeway, but every single one of those advertises exit 242 in Mona, the lavender farms, and the great events and rodeos and things that they're trying to do down in Mona. We also have Howling's Tomatoes, which is down in Mona, where they have a state-of-the-art greenhouse set up to grow fresh tomatoes and produce all throughout the year using the byproducts coming from a Rocky Mountain power plant. They take the carbon and the heat coming off of that plant, and they grow those fresh vegetables. We are truly an agricultural hub. We're the second largest tart cherry producer in the country, and we have some pretty state-of-the-art technology in this area, meaning we have even our own Santaquin City sewer treatment plant. We're the first in the state of Utah to reuse 100% of our sewer effluent. That means that we reuse our water, and 100% of the water that goes through that plant has been recycled and reused in our irrigation system. That's more than 1 billion gallons of water, and that's why our yards are green and lush and they're growing. All of these things come together into what could be a wonderful exit 242. We know that the growth wave will come. We know that we'll get restaurants and hotels eventually, all that type of thing, and those other boxes. But how can we do it in such a way that we can keep our agricultural feel? And so we started taking a look at agritourism as a concept. What does Tillamook do, or Hershey, Pennsylvania, the Oregon Fruit Loop, or just some of these wonderful farm to fork experiences where people can see where the food comes from on their plate and they can enjoy that. One of my favorite restaurants in the state of Utah is Maddox up in Perry near Brigham City. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we didn't just have a steakhouse, but we had something like a Maddox, something that will draw people to our region? And so we actually have hosted a meeting with these four large agricultural producers. In addition, we've invited Utah State University, Utah County, Juab County, and just anybody who has a vested interest, the Payson-Santaquin Chamber of Commerce, to come together. And it was hosted just a few short weeks ago. And we are honored to have Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox come and open that event up for us, where we could talk and collaborate on how we can develop 242 to be a wonderful commercial area with an agricultural feel. We're excited about the regional aspects of working with our neighbors. We're excited about the fact that this is Utah County, but we have Juab County, and Santaquin's part of Juab County too. And so there's possibilities for the Santaquin City to tap into non-Wasatch Front County Economic Development funds from the governor's office. There's possibility to tap into what's called Community Impact Board funds, CIB funds, that are only eligible to non-Wasatch Front counties where they take the proceeds from mineral sales and it can be used to grow rural Utah. We consider ourselves part of rural Utah. Yes, we're part of Utah County, but we are still rural, and this area is just blossoming. So we have 3 economic development areas that we're working extremely hard to try to grow and benefit. We look at the development to our northeast as being a great commercial base and tax base for our community. We see a job creation center to our northwest. We see an agritourism center to our south. We see our community coming together with a UTA route. We see us removing the entitlements to high-density developments within the neighborhoods and getting them in more logical and larger places. These are the things that we're working on. We want to support our local businesses. We want to encourage new businesses to come to town. Competition is great. It makes us all better, and this is the philosophy we're following. I thank you for your time. I look forward to your questions. We're going to try to do these in much shorter segments, so as you send questions in, at least once a week, we want to get some answers to you, and so look for Santaquin Q&A on Facebook. Again, my name is Ben Reeves. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you later.